So we will call this meeting to order at 7:07 PM. First item, is there any public comments? All right, no public comment. So next item, we will go to the approval of the minutes. If everybody could take just a couple minutes to review the attached minutes from the last meeting. One thing to note as part of the agenda says January meeting, but just to note, this is the minutes for the February meeting. Item 3, so item A.
So the minutes of the. Oh,
Kristen. Alt.
you don't need to-
What's that?
I don't need to revise that, send that to the town.
Just more for reference.
Or for the minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
Make a motion to. From February 6th.
Motion to approve. Is there a second? Second. Chris? All in favor of approving the minutes from February meeting? Say aye. So moved. All right. Meetings from the 2/6/23, which is a scant 4 weeks ago. Lovely February. Chairman's reports, not much to update. It has been obviously a short month, so it's time to provide updates. But talking with Scott, things are continuing well. One town still getting a lot of buzz, which is great. A lot of that is going to be culminating this month, which is fantastic. We look forward to hearing more about that in next month's meeting. So moving on, we will move to the library updates. Operations report, first one. Scott, I'll hand it over to you.
So the library is excited to announce we have launched our memory kits at both locations. If you look, you'll see these kind of backpacks, clear backpacks. These are kits that provide multiple tools for assisting caregivers and individuals with dementia. So people who are recognizing that maybe that they're at those early stages or they're caring for somebody at those early stages, you can borrow that. They've been going at the door relatively quickly, which is nice to see. So this is why I wish Nancy came tonight.
I can tell you what's in there. Puzzles,
Oh, have you used
few
it?
books. One my 6-year-old took it home with her. She thought it was really intense.
So, wait, I thought it was early reading. That's.
It was great.
There's like old
Puzzles
timey
and what else?
DVDs in there.
Yeah, like, there's like 2 or 3 puzzles in there. She was fine. We actually got a picture of it. It was really fun.
Thank
The librarian was like, do you have dementia, honey? She might.
Well, been around way before.
It's great.
So yeah, they're just tools to help with neuroplasticity kind of skills.
That's great.
Okay.
So the teen department collaborated with Ludlow High School Best Buddies. This group matches a volunteer with an intellectual or developmental disability, with an intellectual or developmental disability with a volunteer without an intellectual or developmental disability. Recently, they've been coming to the library. Recently, they created murals which are on display downstairs. They're really cute, and I love that program. They've been doing that for a while. Children's Services, the library participated in the statewide initiative, Take Your Child to the Library Day on February 5th. It was really popular. We had like a drummer here, and there was a lot of participation in that. And also, the Winter Read Challenge has seen a significant increase in participation among children, which is also nice to see. Children's Services, Circulation Department did, I love talking about their displays because they do a great job. They did displays for Black History Month, Screen Gems, which they did at Woods, Health and Wellness, which they did at Woods, and my favorite, which they did at both locations with it, which is Blind Date with a Book. So you pick a book that you have no idea what it is. Just borrow a book to see if you like it. Stats at a glance. This is a really neat statistic that I wanted to share. The community art show in the gallery had 1,700 visits. That's more than twice what they normally get in terms of visits. And that doesn't include, and separate from that, there were 158 people attending the opening. So that was fantastic. I love it. I love that they do it every year. By far the most popular show since we began to monitor gallery traffic. Operations, not a boring month, but not really too exciting. But it was a really great month for social media. Our most popular social media post was a video introducing the self-checkout machine, which really spoke to both extroverts and introverts. If you saw it, yeah, it's really good. That reached 1,600 views, 104 likes, 5 comments, and 7 shares on Instagram. And that beat out the 2 chocolate posts that we did, which we thought were going to be more popular, where Mary came around on 2 different posts and asked us all what our favorite chocolate was. Dark chocolate's very popular here at the main library. And I gave a very political answer in my response. Incidents, there were 8 incidents billed in February, which actually surprised me upon reflection. They included hygiene issues, intoxicated patrons, and some handsy teens. This time they were more handsy in terms of like hitting each other, not handsy in the other way, but I thought I'd put that in the report. So, it was kind of a normal month. We're definitely seeing individuals who are coming back to the library and kind of testing testing the boundaries a little bit to see how.
The same individual, like repeat.
No, multiple. There's probably in this month, there was probably 3 to 4 people who definitely were either spoken to or asked.
Doesn't have come back
leave.
to see.
They haven't come
Oh.
back, but I think it was more, they were here years ago. And now they're coming back to see, what they can get away with. So we're on top of it. Our staff are doing a really good job. The name tags, I think, help, but we're being more visible. So we're definitely walking around the building more and asking people if they need assistance, things of that nature. And I think it's helped out because we saw this spike in the beginning of February and it's kind of died down as the month went on. But like every public library, we're going to have incident reports. Facilities, the same issues, HVAC issues. I think any building's having HVAC issues because the weather is just not normal. Yeah, and then plumbing issues, and it's interesting, the plumbing issues have mostly been the automatic, all the electronics that we've put into our plumbing to kind of be more environmentally conscious. We're learning that some of the sensors are going, so, we're seeing it at both locations, which is a little bit of a concern of mine, but I think some of it is stuff that would have gone wrong in kind of that year or two when we were more restricted in our usage. And then all of a sudden, it's like, I joke, the machines are like, oh my God, there's people in the building again. And they're starting to fail a little quicker than we expect. I was at a bunch of stuff this month, but I wanted to highlight the fact that I testified at the Children's Committee public hearing. My testimony is included in the operations report. I did get raked over the coals by one specific elected official about pornography in the library, so I invite you to either look at the CT News Junkie article or watch the video. Just told them my peers I handled it really, really well. I wanted to say, listen, I'm just here because I'm excited about state aid.
Could you say what it was CT News Insight, or was it CT News?
CT, I thought I sent the link, but I'll send it out. CT News Junkie covered it. So, and then the other thing is Fairfield Cares, which I've been going to meetings. They've actually asked me to be the chair of the data committee, which I really took as an honor. And the administration's cleared it. So I'll be doing that work as well.
Great.
And that's it for the operations report. February, though short, was extremely busy.
Great. Thank you, Scott. Next item is the 2024 budget update.
So on the 22nd, I met or presented, and Shannon came with me to the Board of Selectmen. At their budget hearing, it went well. They voted for the budget and no changes were made. So we had made it past that. It was some interesting questions about borrow at CT or whatever the name of it is this year, which is the program that allows people to use the library from other municipalities. We do get money for that. So that was an interesting exchange with a former member of the finance board who's now on the Board of Selectmen. And we're preparing ourselves to be asked that question again Wednesday when we go in front of the finance board.
Is that because the town, where the revenue goes from,
We're
or
not,
we're
not,
yeah,
I believe that question has been asked.
yeah.
yes.
A year
Is that
ago.
kind of definitely what's behind it is,
Maybe supporting outside, like people outside of Fairfield. I think
Yeah,
that
that's
was
the concern.
But that's the
How many
concern.
town resources are being borrowed
Right,
outside of?
but the reality is then this happens everywhere.
yeah.
So
And we
that's,
make-
right.
And we're borrowing from other.
And we're
places,
borrowing
yeah.
from upfront.
So we've got to, Jan and I were
This year.
talked it out on the walk back, and we've got a good plan to answer that question if it's asked. So next, the budget will be reviewed by the Board of Finance. Board of Finance has the authority to reduce or add with a majority vote. So that's the next presentation. That's Wednesday. And then, and then the next presentation, next is representative town meeting, which we have been asked to go to before, but is yet to be determined if we will need to present like we did last year. And Aaron, I'm sorry for providing, you don't understand how much that bothered me that I
Oh, no,
provided you that information.
I mean, get an update immediately once you got it.
Yeah, so the RTM
Yeah,
can reduce the budget, but it cannot,
which
Increase
is
it.
interesting, yeah,
yeah, and so
yeah.
that's the next and really the final step. And then after that, we'll know if our budget's been increased or not. I really invite you to watch the Select Woman's opening presentation for this, for the Selectmen's Board. It was, I don't think we've ever been mentioned that much. And some really kind of talking about things that we're gonna do in the future and plans that we have in the future. I was really happy about it. I mean, it's really been, our meetings have been really positive. And they really liked the bookmark, so we're moving in the right direction.
It's great. It's fantastic, Scott. So. And then the Q2 statistics report.
So, I mean, it's really, the library continues to see growth. However, it is normalizing. So we're really, over time, we're going to go from that 20% increase probably to a 3% increase, which is normal. And we're really reaching capacity staff wise. So that's good. An interesting trend is that Q2 outperformed Q1 on several metrics. And that's surprising because the summer specifically for children's programs is usually our big quarter. So I'm going to be curious to what Q2 of next year looks like in comparison. So that was really just really interesting to us. We saw a little bit of a dip in participation per program. That was kind of a combination of doing more programs, but also as restrictions kind of rolled, we're back to normal. The staff do an incredible job of doing a lot of one-on-one programs. So that will always drive down that number, specifically around digital literacy. And then when it comes to the strategic plan, as with the last report, the staff incorporates the strategic plan into our program and services planning. I gotta say, it's really refreshing and incredible. Every conversation I have about this with the staff about new initiatives, they're like, hey, this is how it fits in with the strategic plan. So that's wonderful because I can tell you a lot of libraries I've been at, the strategic plan's created and then not thought about again. And I love the fact that there's so much investment from the staff. So, and then the other thing is it's kind of tongue in cheek thing. I think it is also fascinating how unforeseen situations actually fit into the path we set with this plan. And as tiring as the book challenge was, I think it really raised awareness of the library, which is a part of our strategic plan. And I really think it kind of got us in terms of internal process, really helped us kind of get our stuff together. And kudos to all of you, because you all did a really good job of kind of, really getting in line and figuring out best practice. So all positives, there are really I'm not seeing any headwinds. Really, the only thing about this report that makes us question is, we're still in weird times. We're still in COVID times. And this quarter definitely was because we saw a little bit of a drop in people coming in the door and drop in people coming to programs. Because we had kind of that post-Thanksgiving, pre-Christmas spike that I think made some people worried.
Yep. Which makes sense. Great. Wonderful. All right, the next item we had, I don't know this. Attachment 5, we have the unattended adults in the children's library policy and the unattended child policy. Scott, do you want to give us a little context? You and I discussed this.
Well, these are two, one, I think you all know I like to have bigger policies and incorporate themes. So I thought for a minute, and after considerable thought, I'm not sure we should change any of these policies or merge anything. Just the idea, since these both touch on ages, that maybe they should be a part of the same policy. And it's, of course, the unattended adults in the children's library, which probably is my favorite title for a policy, needed to be reviewed anyway. So this was good time.
Yep. So,
I'm sorry.
no, go ahead, please.
Has council reviewed the policy?
Yes,
So this is what's currently in situ, right?
yes.
I think the policy is well written and very clear. My question is, or observation, given the nature of this policy and the importance of implementing it and also making certain that the town, the citizenry of the community, knows that we have this type of policy in place. I'm wondering if we can have some form of a way of sharing it with the community. I mean, that they know that this library, this professional staff is concerned and wants them to know that we are making certain that particularly the adult, unattended adult situation is addressed.
So my only concern with publicizing the policy, it is good for us, obviously, it's very good for us to have, as we state in here, the policy reflects our concern for the safety of children. My concern with publicizing it, on a broader level is creating a problem where there is none, such that people would think there may have been an issue that we are specifically addressing with this policy. Whereas it is already in place, it has been in place. I think if there's, I have no issue if we wanted to say, have it available in the children's room. But also publicizing it more, I think could raise some, this is my opinion, obviously. So I open up to everyone else
I agree.
for their thoughts.
That was where I went. I
Yeah.
just worry that when you send something like this, they'll say, even if you say this policy has been in place,
Yes.
it just opens up, oh my God, concerns.
Why?
I never thought that people might be in the
Yeah,
library,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know,
I never
Yeah.
thought that.
children.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So I think it's, I mean, I think it's good for us in terms of understanding.
I happen to agree with you. I didn't look at it from that view.
Yep.
That you don't want to create all of a sudden a
Yeah.
problem where a problem didn't exist. But there may be more than one way to address that issue. It's not necessarily to send this thing out.
Yeah.
And everybody has a question about it. But we may want to think about just general, how we, whether it be having a reporter come in and getting a report about the library and asking questions about how is your policy set.
Yeah, I think there's some
I
aspect.
mean, it shows the responsibility that we are very aware
Yeah,
of these potential difficulties. Now, the other question I would have is, have we had the experience of unattended adults adults unattended in the children's library? And how did we handle it? And I'm not talking about like when I use me, when I come up here and I get some books out for my granddaughter and leave, 10 minutes later. I'm talking about people just lingering around.
The staff, specifically in the children's room, are very quick to respond to an individual who's kind of lingering or hanging out in the room. Very empathetic in their approach. This recently happened on a Saturday that I was on the desk, and we kind of were going back and forth on how to approach it. And it was really someone who, some cognitive decline, some kind of, just kind of wanted to be in the room, kind of, it was kind of like heartwarming in a way, because they just wanted to be in the room, because they brought their children to the room. So the staff had a good conversation with them. They were very amenable to the policy, and they left the room. And I think that's been most of the situation. We have had one or two individuals where it was a little more concerning, but they were still very responsive as soon as they were spoken to. And it is helpful for staff to be able to say, there is a policy in place, and that's what we're enforcing.
Scott, is this posted? I can't remember.
I think it is.
This is posted.
Yeah, I believe it is. In the children's room. We've got a few of our policies posted specifically in the children's room.
I think the other thing just to note, with these two is we had the conversation last month, Peter, sorry for your absence last month. About the potential of us creating one policy to cover off both of these. I think Scott and I have had a discussion, and it is his recommendation, we don't combine the two, that we still have two separate policies. I agree with him in that sense, because I do think they serve two different purposes. In this way, we don't wanna oversimplify and put some, definitely.
It's also mixing apples and oranges.
Exactly. So I think based on this, there is no action we need to be taking. So we will maintain the policies as is. So no motion is needed. And we will move on to our committee liaison reports. So I will go first to space planning. Ms. Rogers. Jan.
Again, I apologize.
Nothing really much to report. We're pretty close to, well, first we'll be getting a quote for the furniture for the periodicals room. We're still going back and forth a little bit on, tables for there, but I.
Did we find out which one's won?
The chairs, yeah.
Yeah, which one's won?
The big white one was very popular.
I think I like that one.
So we will be getting some of those not in white, of course.
Yep.
But Scott wasn't here today, but Philip and I went down and looked at the layout that had been planned, and we want to make some tweaks to that, so I'll talk to you about that tomorrow.
Great. We will be, that is for the tables, then study carols is the only thing left.
The study carols are on order.
Okay.
No word as to when they're arriving.
Great. There's anything else to add? All right then. We will go then to the fundraising committee.
At the meeting that we attended, that I think I attended in January, I know February was,
Yep.
I finally joined the COVID club. We talked about the subscription to the Foundation Center, and you'll recall that, we thought that maybe Bridgeport or Westport, had subscriptions to the centers. Neither of them do. I would like to recommend that we appropriate no more than $200 to join the Foundation Center for 1 month. Which would give maybe, by working with whoever Scott appoints, for us to go through it and spend the time to see which foundations are interested in the libraries and who might be good to approach. Rather than, Foundation Center normally sells you a subscription for $1,500 a year, but they will they will provide you with a 1 month subscription so you can get familiar with it. So that's a recommendation that I have,
I would bump
if
it
we
up-
have the $200.
I would bump it up to $219.99. Because that's the monthly cost now.
Oh, is that what it
Yeah.
is? So,
Is that include tax?
That's 99.
What?
Tax?
I don't know, we
No,
won't
no.
pay tax.
you looked into it?
When we buy things, we don't pay tax. Sales tax?
No.
No,
Boy, that's a big increase. Last year I paid $159.
yeah, they changed,
Grab my,
because they changed their name.
grab my stuff to the library.
That's fine, so.
Stricken from the record.
I'm glad that our head librarian is up on the course of
Yes.
this thing. You know, I hate to ask him how much the Time Magazine subscription is. I still think I'm paying $3.95 a month.
Or not.
One of the things that Scott and I had a conversation about, and it was raised, I believe, in the last meeting, was that, is it Westport that provides, foundation, something similar to this, they have a subscription
Right.
that they provide to the community as well as their board. Scott, did you find, you know, last time we talked, you were gonna follow up with Westport, asking some questions about that.
Jan, did we have any luck?
No.
Okay, so at this time, there's no reason for us to pursue that any further.
There was some confusion and no one could clearly answer us.
Gotcha.
I went over to Westport. Nobody answered me either. And they didn't ask me my address. So.
Good to know. Well, appreciate the feedback, Peter. That's great to know, and we will address that as we get to the old business. Next is the ad hoc bond committee, which did not have an opportunity to meet. I will be speaking, Aaron, Chris, let's talk after the meeting, just discussing finding a time if we can to meet in the coming month-ish. And then I will now turn it over to our guest from the Friends of the Library.
So as Scott said, the library, community gallery was very well attended. So that community show is taken down. There is a new exhibit that it was in. It was put in and the opening of that was on February 23rd. So the gallery continues to change and update, and I think 4 times a year will be new ones coming through. There is an event in the gallery on March 12th. It's Jen Butler. As you know, Jen Butler is a local designer in town, and she's having her spring fashion show at the library. She asked for a donation for everyone who comes, and the donation is then given to the Friends, so it's a nice source of fundraising. And what we've done with that at her behest is really fund the new furniture in the teen libraries. So she's really supportive of teen programming that way. So if anyone is able to come on Sunday, March 12th, we'd love to have you. Her clothes are just beautiful. There are a lot of offsite book clubs that are happening that the Friends has been supporting. There was one at J.B. Percival, there's one at Little Pub, and people seem to be really loving them. They're getting good attendance. Even if they haven't read the books, they're coming and conversing and meeting people. So it's really bringing the community together just at another venue, which has been helpful. Mini golf is scheduled. We pushed it out to April 23rd. So Sunday, April 23rd, put it in. It's going to be here in the library. We are excited for that. I think it'll be really fun. And then the last thing that's out there that can be registered for is literary luncheon. So we've selected an author that'll be at the Patterson Club, and that's get the date. I want to say it's May 22nd, somewhere around there. The registration is up on the library website. So we put that up, I would say maybe a month ago. We've got some pretty decent sign up, but we'd love to try to get some more people to attend that.
Who's the home?
The author is Jane Rosen. And she has a new book out. It's called, I think it's Fire Island. So it's her new book that, and she came and spoke at our annual meeting last year. And the book that she wrote, talked about them, was called A Shoe Story. So it's really good. She's from New York City. She's got a great following out here. So it should be a nice event. And that's it.
Great. Fantastic, exciting things coming up. All right. With that, we will now turn it over to one thing, I forgot to include it, and she's not here today, but Jill does have an update for the website. I will ask her to send that out via email to the board, so we have that. But we'll get some updates on that in our next meeting. And also make sure we include that on the committee. All right, on to the treasurer's report.
Sure, I just noticed my chart wasn't updated, so ignore that. Don't look at the pictures of that. Not too much of an update. We're slightly down from last month, but still up 3% for the year, following the markets. We're being down funds at Vanguard, the Memorial and Jennings Fund. We're just about $2,200,000 lower than we were about a month ago. The only other update I wanted to give was Jan and Scott, looking at her name, Anna from First County had reached out to me about positive pay, which I believe is more of a yearly check-in. But I told her I'd talk to you guys if we wanted to schedule a call. I'm not sure if you know what that is. It's really uploading a file. You up every time, so really every day or any day that you issue checks, you upload a file to their website to identify to the bank, these are the checks I've issued. So these are the ones that are okay to cash. And that way it prevents fraud and people getting their hands on those. I don't know if it's necessary, but it's something we can certainly talk about. But I told her we'd get back to her if we wanted to schedule a call.
Have they noticed an increase in check fraud that they're pushing it?
They've noticed an increase in our check volume a bit. And I didn't get, I mean, it was a very short conversation, with the woman over at First County. I don't believe we noticed anything fraudulent specifically on our account. I think in general, check fraud is up, but I have nothing specific to us.
And we did cancel a check. And they were, I think that triggered.
Yeah,
I
I'm
remember
sure they have, I mean, as a early year check-in, I'm sure they have a list of things,
things that they're gonna
Yeah,
say.
accounts they go out to. But
makes sense.
we can certainly look at it and look at the volume compared to last year and see if
Sounds
something that makes
interesting.
sense. But that's the only other update I have.
And remember, it's, when you're talking to Anna, it's yes, I'm back.
Yeah.
All right. And Aaron. All right, so we didn't identify any new business. Is there any new business that needs to be brought up at this moment? Chris? Aaron? All right, so then we'll move on to old business. So we had already touched on this, but for the Foundation Center subscription, as discussed, Peter's recommendation is that we put forward or authorize up to, what, $219.99, Scott?
That's the current rate.
To purchase a subscription, a 1 month subscription to the Foundation Center. Now, before we move or anything like that, do you feel, Peter, at this moment, when we do actually sign up, we have the month, that we are in a position to have these discussions, to look for foundations, things of that nature?
Yeah, I mean, you know, when you get into this grant writing situation and these are primarily family foundations that we're looking at. When you get into grant writing, this becomes a process and first part is to identify
Yep.
who's out there. I mean, needless to say, my geographic range that I would look at is the state of Connecticut and New York, just to see which kind of family foundations. If we don't find family foundations in that area, we'll expand the regional search into New Jersey or Massachusetts, wherever else. But I think we need to see what's out there and and then make some decisions in terms of who should we approach. And recognize that when you start getting into I don't know how many of you have been in the foundation game, but when you start the whole issue with foundations, generally, the first time a foundation receives your proposal, you're not going to get funded because they don't know us. Now, in this particular instance, as opposed to when I was running an organization, we're a town agency and we're a library, we're a town library. And I think therefore our credibility rests a lot with the credibility of the community. You know, we have a AAA bond rating and all those good things go into it. So we would have the necessary checks and balances that a foundation would feel comfortable with in terms of the money. But we have to start someplace.
Yeah.
And as long as we do not have unrealistic expectations initially, I think that over time we can get something going here and bring in some money. Even if it's a new $10,000, it's $10,000.
More than covers the cost.
Sure.
So, fantastic.
Then you have to.
All right, is there a motion to?
One quick question, the person who's gonna assist you, Scott, does that person have the availability in the month when we flip the switch?
That's when you,
I think work.
that's what I wanna, that's the next step is, because I know Danielle wants to be a part of it as
Oh,
well.
sure.
So it's who's gonna do this? And also, when is an opportunity that, you know, Peter's
My time,
not
my time's pretty
traveling,
flexible.
traveling the world.
I'm not traveling.
You know, and our staff are all here and ready to go. So we can, now that we've got this approved, now we'll work on the scheduling where everybody can sit down together.
Yeah, I mean, my sense is initially, we need to get the subscription, which takes like 24 hours, and select ourselves maybe a half a day to initially just play around with, see what kind of results we get.
Yeah. That works. I think for $219.
And I'm the only one here who's not working.
Very, very good point.
Unlike the rest of you guys.
So I don't know if we need a formal motion for this. So it's only $219. We should probably do it anyway.
I think you should.
So anybody care to make a motion?
Resolve that the Board of Trustees of the library approve the expenditure of $219.99 for the purpose of a 1 month subscription to the Foundation Center or whatever they've changed their name to.
Yes.
I'll second that.
What happened?
Second. All in favor? So moved.
Do we know the correct name?
Looking it up now, I can't believe it.
Yes, we'll make sure we have that as part of it. Yes. All right. So Peter, once you feel comfortable to
Candid.
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 C-A-N-D-I-D.
That's the new name?
Foundations.
Yeah, it's just called Candace.
Yeah.
I need,
Is what they do.
Yeah.
Feels very techy. We're like, what is this now?
What is
Yeah.
it, the new name of?
I think it's Candid.
Foundation
The
Center.
Foundation Center.
I mean,
I was
make
looking
sure.
at it today.
It
couldn't
is,
figure out
that's
what-
it,
actually,
yeah.
yeah.
Certain, I get emails from them, so this is something new to me.
Big opportunity lost.
Yeah.
Put in
Yeah,
foundation.
look,
Candid, yeah,
foundationcenter.org.
Yeah, that's it.
yeah,
All right.
yeah, it's just called Candid Peer.
That's what it's called, Candid Pyramid?
Period.
They're just standing with the logo.
Oh, I was like pyramid, I was like, wow, that's big.
Trustee of the executive.
Is this a pyramid scheme? No, it couldn't be. It's in the name.
Yeah.
All right.
Christina.
So when you are ready, Peter, you are authorized to sign up.
Yeah, this is, depending on when the staff is ready.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Just making it known to the board. We look forward to you being share out, sharing out some of your findings if they are available next month.
Great.
Our next item is the new trustee search. As we have discussed, we have 3 more meetings with Christina as a trustee. So we will be looking for somebody to replace her. Well,
Nobody can
replace her.
replace her.
You beat me to it, Peter.
Put that in the minutes.
Is there anybody that would be, I will be involved with the search. Is there anybody else that would like to be part of the search committee? Peter? Christina, would
There's
you
an
mind?
outgoing person, can
I was gonna say, would you mind being
No.
part of the search? So we will go with, myself, Peter and Christina, and we will start to collect some names together. We can start to have some conversations around that. We can talk separately and coordinate next steps for that.
Yeah.
We do have obviously the CVs that we collected last year, year before. So we can revisit those, and if there are new ones, if anybody in their circle has people that would be interested. Chris, you've done a pretty crappy job of bringing people into this board.
Terrible. Including
So
myself
I don't know, you got me in the board.
and Jill, by the way.
As we talked about, is there anything that, and maybe we could talk to Scott about this, any skill sets we're looking for? Because I know we did that for Aaron when we were doing a search. I think that's probably.
Starting point,
Right,
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, we advertised as
Yeah,
such.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I think, from my perspective, we've got, Jill with some of the marketing background, Aaron obviously with more finance, Chris, same thing. I don't know what I bring to the table. But I guess Scott, you're kind of turning it on you a little bit without unprompted. Is there anything you see from the board, from your perspective that is,
Peter comes from a nonprofit perspective, which is always
yep,
helpful. I think, I don't know if we want to openly say we're looking for somebody who has a library background,
And that's what it.
but that's what, and which has been extremely helpful, was helpful during the search. It was helpful during, some policy conversations. So that's something that, you always look at what are you losing with the outgoing trustee? And also what are some additional skill sets on the board that maybe we want to look for? So, having that library background is definitely important. So that's one thing to think about. And just kind of being plugged into the community,
yeah,
which I think Christina's brought to the board, and that's helpful.
yeah. Good call out.
You
So
know,
we can go back through and review and, sorry, Peter, please.
I was gonna say, one of the areas that I think would be helpful is I'd love to see a teacher, an educator on the board. That's, you know, we're about reading and learning. And we have nobody, I don't think we have anybody on the board who's got an educational background. I actually do have an educational background, but that's a long time ago.
Yeah. So what I think we can do initially is put the, the CDs that we have from the past few years back through that lens, that filter, see what we have. As always, if there are people in your sphere that would be interested, same extends to friends. If there is anybody you know of that would be interested, please feel free to pass them along, and then we'll see where we are after that. At which point, if we do feel like we need to bring more people into the conversation, we'll talk about putting it out some more on social media as part of potentially Brenda's town emails. We have other ways of doing this beyond just that, but I think we should start with sort of near in that is available, and if it is sufficient, we can go stick with that.
Yeah.
Provided there's still interest in those people. Cool, so I will reach out to both of you
That's
and
great.
coordinate. The last item on old business, we discussed this last month. One of the things with I guess I say recent, it's not as recent now, FOIA request was that there is the challenge of maintaining separation of, separating your board of trustees emails versus, versus your own personal emails. And we discussed the opportunity to create a web domain for the board of trustees that can be that we will have email addresses available. So when you become a board member, you will be issued your board of trustees email. You can use it in isolation. You can have it forwarded to your email address, but it gives us something that we can point to. I don't know if we want to create, we want to add, we haven't talked about this, Scott, but the idea of having the board, our board of trustees, we created the email for the board that we publicize and we reach out, whether we have that on the domain as well. Something that allows us that way, if a FOIA request is made, we have access to old emails after people have left. So if there is something beyond the time that they are serving, that we can do that. It makes, if you're purging your emails, I won't say who. But it's a way for us to have tighter controls on our activities to make sure that we're covering our bases and staying compliant. So Scott went out and looked for us at what the cost would look like. It is $12 per month for a Google Workspace. I think Google is probably the best one for us to use, just because of the nature of everyone's more, familiarity with Google, whether you like it or not. It's almost SBC Global.
Me too.
No, I'm talking about you, Christina.
What's really?
But this way we have, and then we have it is the boardfplct.org is available, and that would be $12 a month for the workspace and $12 a year for the domain name, which would be $156 per year. This would be an ongoing cost to the board moving forward. So while not enormous in cost, something to be aware of, that it is something that we would be spending money on an annual basis. But what the cost is versus the man hours used for FOIA requests that I speak to, but everybody else as well, I think it does give us that opportunity to act more as in a more official capacity as a board, and having tighter controls on things that are pertinent to board operation. So with that, is there a motion to approve the spend ongoing from the board?
Can I just ask one question?
Yes,
I thought at one point we had talked about, so who would be able, again, say there's a FOIA request, I thought we had talked about doing it through the library so that the IT
So that's,
team would be like the one they could easily pull out with all of the librarians.
so
Or
that,
is that too complicated?
it's not too complicated. It's the town really doesn't want to
Ah.
understandably be
Got
responsible
it.
for this.
Okay,
So, this would be something that I would work with the secretary
got it.
of the board.
Mhm.
We would the staff would do some of the back end stuff like creating the emails for the new trustee, running the backups, but something like, if there is a FOIA request, I would work with, hopefully it doesn't happen again for the next 3 months, but work with
Yeah.
Christina, like, this is how you do it.
Got
real
it.
quick. So, the dangers in this is the fact that you're trusting every director from here on out to have some digital literacy capabilities to do this. So just keep that in mind, whoever replaces me, it's gonna have to have a little bit of a comfort in doing these things. And you want to make sure that your secretary has and since we're librarians, of course we do, has a level of digital literacy that will understand these things. It's really not complicated. That's why Google is the best way to go, but there will be some competencies moving forward for both the director of the library and the secretary of the board to be able to do some of this.
Got it. Okay. So,
Yes, that's another good call. This now would become a new responsibility for the secretary moving forward. Which will be something to keep in mind as we go to our next slate.
Right.
So,
I think I will say, I think it's a great idea because we had never had that many emails before and it became very apparent that we needed to have. I already have a work email, I already have a personal email, but for this kind of business, not that this is business, but I think makes a lot of sense to have a trustee.
yeah,
I think given the political situation that's out there, uh, we need to have this type of a communication vehicle in place that also provides us a veil between the board, this library, and the town. Because I think the example that took place last fall over the book, it could have, under FOIA, somebody could have said, I want to see all the emails out there related to the book, and we would have been scrambled. So I think it's a great idea.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, and it does give us the tighter controls on that. I think that's for us something that will be
Yeah.
beneficial.
So I can make a motion
Yes.
Right?
for the email. Wherever all the other stuff I need to say in order to do it, but I'm
Right, so associated costs to stand up a.
I make a motion for that.
Yeah.
He makes it easy, it's right there.
Yeah, first.
Yeah.
You put it on the agenda?
Yeah,
That was Peter's suggestion to start doing recommended.
there it is, it's right there.
Yes.
Nice
I like
job.
that. That was a good job.
All right.
I should have read the.
We'll try it again.
I make a motion that the library board of trustees approves the creation of a business account with Google for the purpose of creating a trustee specific domain for storage and email.
I'll second it.
You're all in favor? Aye. All right, so moved. Scott, I will,
Tell me, Spiegel.
so I'll see Scott to get it created. What's that?
She needs another hand.
Scott, I'll coordinate with you. I know you've been emailing with the,
Yeah, the account should be relatively quick.
yeah. We'll just figure out getting it up and running, get everybody's, we'll just talk to, naming convention as well for emails. Does anybody have a preference? First, last,
Not even that. Initial, last name.
works for me. Okay, Crothers.
There we go.
Yep, that works. That works for me. So we'll do that. We can, Scott, I'll just be in touch with you about getting that stuff up and running. And then we can get everybody their access. Before we adjourn, is there any other items that anybody needs to bring up?
Let's get back to that. Are we going to start that on July 1? Does that make sense to start it, have it be effective by July 1?
I think it's effective to have it as soon as
As
possible.
soon as possible?
ASAP.
I think there's,
Good.
while I know it's gonna give you, you only have it for a few months.
Yeah, that's fine.
If something for some reason is to come up over that time period,
Okay,
it still is, it puts those.
Yeah.
Those things in place that allow us to. Help.
good.
And actually, especially following your departure. So. Now comes the last item on our agenda. You have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? Sina?
Yeah.
All in favor? All right, approved. So we adjourn our meeting at 8:02 PM. I will see everybody next month for our April meeting and have a wonderful month of March.